Welcome along to Pau, the home of French street racing since the early 1930s. For the second time, the Euroformula Open is here on these iconic streets for just the 2 races as opposed to our regular 3. It's been an interesting season so far. We had 3 races just last week at Estoril, and as you got a brief glimpse of in that little package before we went live here, there were 3 different winners. So all very much to play for in the championship at the moment. Lots of top contenders strewn throughout the grid, although the one at the top is this man, Ollie Gerta. He's at the top of the points table coming into this event. He was also the winner of race 2 in Estoril. He's our points leader, and on Friday he took a clean sweep of the sessions. Both free practices and qualifying went to the driver in the Gulf colours. Keep an eye on him, but he's joined on the front row by Vladislav Lomko. Vlad Lomko, who moves up to Euroformula this season out of F4. He was strong in F4 and he's looking ever quicker in the Dallara 320 chassis as well. He was a bit disappointed with just getting a front row. He thought he had the potential for pole, but still looking to be in a strong position for this first race. In third place, Christian Mansell. Christian had quite the run towards this first race. 2 free practices, 2 crashes, unfortunately. Kept his nose clean in qualifying for 3rd on the grid. And we expect him to get a rocket launch of a start, as he so often did at Estoril. He will try and get it amongst it in the first few corners of the lap. Then it's Josh Mason. Josh Mason in 4th position. And Josh, a cover star in the local newspapers here today at Pau as well. Of course, the local press here at Pau celebrating the return of the Grand Prix, and Josh Mason claiming one of the front covers. There's Fred Lubin, who qualified 5th place, just behind Josh Mason. Mansell, Lubin and Mason, all good friends, all very amicable off the circuit, but I'm sure much of that dynamic will be out of the window once we go racing. Philip Ugran, a driver who was overflowing with confidence at the end of the Estoril weekend. He said, "I am going to win the Pau Grand Prix," to me on the Sunday evening. So let's see how he does. Of course, the Pau Grand Prix itself is tomorrow's race, and there is a separate qualifying session heading into that as well. This is effectively just a round of the Euroformula Championship. So the Pau Grand Prix itself not determined today, but still great racing to come here on this iconic 2.769 kilometre, 1.7 mile street circuit. We saw Marin Angeli there in 7th. In 8th place, the Sol DriveX machine being driven by the Chilean Nicolas Pino. And Nicolas was seemingly quite happy with the car, but didn't quite get the lap time out in qualification. So he starts in 8th place. We'll see next Alex Garcia, who is another driver that got some local media attention. He was on another of the local papers' front covers as they all celebrate the return of top-level Formula racing to the streets of Pau. Alex Garcia starting from 9th place. And then alongside him on the grid in 10th place will be Sebastian Ogard. Now, Sebastian Ogard, unfortunately, had a bit of an incident, as we look at him now, in free practice 2. Had a bit of a sore thumb coming out of it. Pressed on through qualifying, but didn't get the lap time he expected. Was actually in medical centre for much of the evening, checking up on his thumb and seeing whether he was fit to race. They gave him the all clear, but Ogard starting rather on the back foot. The car has been repaired, and the thumb thankfully not broken, but he is in a bit of a cast and he's a bit sore. There's Vladimir Nettershiel making his debut in Euroformula Open. The Czech driver, last year's FIA Central European Zone Formula 3 champion, has made the step up to Euroformula Open. He sees it as a bit of fun, really, but he's still competitive And there, very good to see Francesco Simonazzi. Now, Simonazzi, if Ogard is on the back foot, I dread to think where Simonazzi is. Unfortunately, about 10 minutes into first free practice yesterday, he had a crash that then took the rest of the day to repair the damage to the car. So all of free practice 2 and all of qualifying was missing for Simonazzi. He's only done a handful of laps here at the Pau circuit, the Pauville Street circuit. So as I said, on the back foot, and he is going to be, I think, more than anything, just trying to get himself readjusted to the car now that's been repaired, and still very much learning the circuit. All of these drivers will have spent a lot of time in the sim heading into this race, yes, but there's a big difference between the sim and the cockpit itself. So as much as the sim is helpful, that track time that Simonazzi would have missed yesterday is going to be critical potentially when we go racing. This man, Ollie Gerta, with a 109.5 in qualifying, actually was quicker than the fastest ever race lap around here, which is attributed to Maxi Gunter back in 2017. So keep an eye on the fastest laps as the race wears on, as both races wear on. We will see whether or not he can write his name into the history books with a potential new lap record around the streets of Pau. Parts of the circuit have been resurfaced as well, so that could be ever in his favour. And of course, since we were last here at Pau in 2019, we do have a new car, the Dallara 320. Quite the evolution, advancement, progression from the cars we had back in 2019 on our previous visit to this street circuit. So we can well expect to see some quicker times and some faster, more rapid pace out of these drivers. Of course, the weather as well in 2019 was quite the factor, as our race winner from that year, Billy Munger, can attest. If you watched the race in 2019, you'll have seen Billy Munger's historic and magnificent performance on the Sunday race in the Pau Grand Prix to take that win. That's a moment that will live on in motorsport history for a long time to come. This circuit with so much history, focusing on both the past, its glorious past, and the future as well. There's a big push here at Pau for sustainability, for electric cars, for sustainable petrol, sustainable fuel, and it's great to see that kind of blend of history and the future here at this venue. Here's the grid, as we've talked through already. Gerta and Lomko on the front row of the grid, Mansell and Mason on row 2. Then it's Lubin and Ugran on the third row of the grid. Ugran, the first of the drivers out of the Van Amersfoort stable. They seem to have been struggling a little bit coming into this one. Marin Angeli in another Van Amersfoort car in 7th. Pino, Garcia, Ogard, Nettershiel and Simonazzi are 12-car grid for this one. Of course, as I've already alluded to, the Pau Grand Prix itself is tomorrow, and every single driver on this grid will be vying to add themselves to the mighty roll of honour at this venue that's been hosting Grand Prix since 1933. The history of motorsport in this city can even be traced back further to the very turn of the 20th century. But in the time that we've been holding the Pau Grand Prix, winners have included Tazio Nuvolari, Juan Manuel Fangio, Alberto Ascari, Jim Clark, who's won 4 of these races before his untimely passing in 1968, Jackie Stewart, Jochen Rindt, John Alesi, Juan Pablo Montoya, Lewis Hamilton, Roman Grosjean, Raffaele Marciello. So many incredible drivers have been here in the years past. Ollie Gerta, the latest of them to be at the sharp end. And we heard from him a little earlier on yesterday evening after his pole position lap here at Pau. So the warm-up lap getting underway. And we now will throw to the interview with Ollie Gerta.
Good day here at Pau. You were fastest in all sessions and finished qualifying, putting 2 times that were pole.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing day. P1 in every session. It can't get much better, to be honest. I'm just delighted. I'm having a lot of fun driving here in Po, and I'm doing well, so I'm really happy. Yeah.
What can you say about the track?
I love the track. I mean, it's the only street race this year, so we'll make the most of it whilst we're here. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so much. I love the track. It's amazing.
And how you see things tomorrow? You have to take a good start.
Yeah, I know. The starts can't be like in Estoril, that's for sure. If not, it's a bit more difficult to overtake here. So yeah, I got to get a good start and then be consistent, and it should be okay. Yeah.
Well done for now. All the best.
There we go, a confident young man, Ollie Gerta, the young Danish driver from the pole position. The formation lap in the blink of an eye, already almost over. A fast lap around this circuit is well into the 1:10s, a qualifying lap into the 1:09s. It is a short, sharp venue with plenty of tests and challenges across the 15 corners. Now, bear in mind as well, turns 3 and 4, those corners are under yellow flag in the first lap, so we shouldn't see any moves around turn 3, Oscar, or the Lycée hairpin on lap 1. If we do, then that could be under review a little later. So yellow flag conditions in turn 3 and 4 on the first lap. I'm sure all the drivers will have been briefed on that one. The last cars rolling up to their grid slots now. We're just moments away from the first race of the weekend for Euroformula Open at Po. The green flag waves, the red lights are on. And we're racing, and it's a good start from everyone except for one driver. One of the Van Amersfoort cars, I think that might be, that's not got underway at all. But it's a great start for Ollie Gerta. Christian Mansell has got himself up to second place as well. I think Vladislav Lomko's fallen down the order. Oh, it's Freddie Lubin. Freddie Lubin, who did not get the good start at all, unfortunately. Thankfully, the car is underway. But unfortunately for him, he is now firmly at the back of the order. The car's single file on the first lap through turns 3 and 4 as the yellow flag dictates. Ollie Gerta, though, with a great start. You heard him reference it in that interview just a few moments ago in qualifying, in the races in Estoril. He really did struggle with launches, but no such issues here at Po. And Gerta with a flying start, Christian Mansell behind him. Mansell, who did a great job in qualifying to get to third position, even though he spent quite a bit of the first 2 free practice sessions on the sidelines. And Mansell, with limited track time underneath him, had one of his signature lightning getaways and is up to second place. Lomko's there in third, Josh Mason in fourth place. And then in fifth place is Philip Ugran. Of course, the driver that started in fifth, Fred Lubin, is all the way down at the back of the order. Gerta, though, already with a good lead, 1.2 seconds for the driver, resplendent in the Gulf colours. A livery almost as historic as the race we're witnessing here today. Christian Mansell there in second place. Lomko with Mason all over the back of him. Josh Mason looking racy in the early going. They head through the Beaumont Park section of the circuit for the second time. Such a long sweeping corner, and it kind of tightens and then opens again. It's a very tricky section. You saw Christian Mansell at the Foch chicane, where he came up a little bit short in first free practice. He had quite the wobble there. Just a bit of a reminder to him that you can easily push too hard at the Foch chicane. He was very frank and open about the challenges he faced yesterday. Mighty circuit, and one that doesn't leave any room for error in the slightest. He'll be delighted to be up to second place, but that little wobble that he had a few moments ago at the Foch chicane will remind him that the track can bite. Gerta continues to pull away. He's gained another second on the rest of the field on that lap alone. 2.2 seconds, the gap between Gerta and Mansell. Lubin, meanwhile, is up to 11th place. He's managed to get around Vladimir Nettershiel. So Lubin on the recovery drive after that poor start. Of course, everyone had to go single file through part of the first section of this lap, and that will have allowed Lubin to make up just a little bit of time as everyone else went single file and made sure not to get into each other. They absolutely use and abuse these curves at the Foch chicane. Not quite so easy to do at this section of the circuit. You'll see some touring cars and the like hop the curves here and there, but in these Formula cars down through the descent, they do have to be quite careful. And that's in spite of the fact that the suspension setups here at Po are wildly different from what we would have seen at Estoril. Estimates are that it's about 50% more suspension travel here than at your typical racing circuit. I thought initially that I was told 15. It was Nico from Motorsport Park that I was speaking to, or Timo from Moto Park that I was speaking to, and he said, no, if it was 15%, I'm afraid you'd end up in the hospital. So they need a lot more suspension travel here just to make sure the cars get over the bumps and jumps without any trouble. 26 lap distance can also be reduced to 35 minutes should we have significant pauses in this race. You see there, Lomco has started to pull away from Mason, who initially looked like he was challenging the back of the number 69 car. And now we get a look at that start, and there's Mansell with a brilliant start as Lubin left for dead there at the back of the order. The Moto Park entry. And there you see, very well avoided from everybody. It's never good at a street circuit when someone doesn't get underway. There's not much room to work with. But very good job from everybody to stay out of trouble there. And here, another of the Moto Park entries, Ollie Gerta, 3.6 seconds clear of Christian Mansell already. Mansell will be pressing on, no doubt, but Gerta has looked like he's in a league of his own here. Gerta, who's had some experience at street circuits previously, unlike most of the drivers in this field. Gerta actually raced at Monaco in the Grand Prix support bill last season. Compared Po favourably to Monaco, said that he thought he preferred the flowing nature of this track. It is indeed a lot more sinuous and flowing, especially in this back section here, than many other street circuits. There's Lomco, who does look quite competitive compared to Christian Mansell. Their best lap times are about even at the moment. That said, Mansell was a couple of tenths quicker on that last lap. Christian, who claimed a win at Estoril, will be hoping to do the same here, if not in this race, then certainly tomorrow in the 79th edition of the Po Grand Prix. There's Francesco Simonazzi. Good to see him running well in 10th position at the moment. He's coming under pressure, though, from Freddie Lubin. And just ahead of Simonazzi is Sebastian Ogard. Ogard, who, of course, has that injury to the thumb after his accident in FP2. Pressing on nonetheless. He wasn't going to miss the Po round of Euroformula Open. That much is for sure, but Lubin is now going to discover firsthand what most of us already know, and that's that overtaking at Po is quite the challenge. Simonazzi, though, coming under pressure from Lubin, who will know that he's got more pace by dint of where he qualified, but of course, having more pace isn't much good. Once you're on somebody's gearbox, it's all about the overtaking and finding the right opportunity. And at street circuits, opportunities are often few and far between. You see there the bumps over the first on the main straight. Turn 1 essentially flat out. Turn 2, the Gar hairpin, or half hairpin, I'd say it is. Then actually on the Avenue Napoleon Bonaparte, the run from turn 2 to turn 3, there's been a bit of resurfacing. If we do get trickier conditions at some point this weekend, that could be quite a slippery surface. You see there are patches of resurfacing all throughout the circuit, but that's the most notable between turn 2 and 3. Through Busson go Our battle for second place, Mansell and Lomko. Christian Mansell, Vladislav Lomko. Christian, who of course did a part season with us in 2021, has some good experience and some good mileage in this Dallara 320, albeit not here at Po, which is the mileage he would have been very keen to have had coming into this race. Lomko, who again, as I mentioned before we went racing, didn't seem all that happy with his second place on the grid. He felt he had the potential for pole position. He did not get hold of the pole. I think he was hoping to try and out-drag Ollie Gerta towards turn 1, but that didn't pay off for him. And in fact, he was out-dragged, of course, by Christian Mansell, who left some nice black lines out of the Lycée hairpin on that occasion. Through the Beaumont Park they go once again. Quite a few drivers have confessed that they've dented a few virtual Dallaras coming into this weekend on the sim. Even on the sim, the fine margins of Po can often bite you. And here in the realm of reality, that becomes all the more obvious. Vlad Lomko actually said that he was surprised that he wasn't a little more afraid of the track than he was. He thought it would be quite the edge of seat of experience driving at a street circuit for the first time, but he said once he'd done a couple of laps, he was well adjusted, he was in tune, and he felt ready to go on the charge. And he's going to have to go on the charge now, isn't he? There in third place, still just hanging behind Christian Mansell. Nice little bit of four-wheel drifting from Mansell. You can tell he's pushing on, can't you? Certainly, if there were style points in motor racing outside of the world of drifting, I think that Christian Mansell would be well up the list. Simonazzi still holding off Fred Lubin, but Lubin certainly looms large. The BVM Racing crew have put in a mighty shift coming into this race to get the car ready. They're not as big of an operation as the likes of Motor Park or Van Amersfoort Racing. And every hand was on deck to make sure the car was ready to go. You saw Lubin there with a snap of oversteer coming into turn 7, the Foch chicane, but he held on to it nicely. Simonazzi continues on in 10th place then. They spent the entirety of Friday fixing the car after an incident early in FP1. But Simonazzi does look fairly confident. He was actually telling me that he really wants rain tomorrow. And here goes Lubin. Nice move up the inside at turn 2. Very well done at Gare. Sensational move from Lubin. Had that one scouted and ready to go, but there goes Simonazzi with a little look to the inside. Can't make the move stick though. And I think that might be that one done. Lubin can now focus on the task ahead, and that task is Sebastian Ogard. Sebastian, who into this race was second in the championship, he's going to be hoping to recover this as best he can. He wants to score as many points as possible. There's a replay of the move. Lubin with a dive up the inside, and the young Brit did a sensational job there. If he'd braked maybe 2 meters later, I think he would have met the tyres. You see Vladimir Nettershiel down a lap now. Ollie Gerta has already dispatched him. Christian Mansell, the next one to come up on Nettershiel. Gerta through the Lycée hairpin for the 11th time of asking. And there you go, Vladimir being very conscious of what's going on around him, lets the battle for second go through without any particular debate. Very nice, conscious driving there from the Czech driver Nettershiel. Certainly a baptism of fire for him, having previously raced in the FIA Central European Series. It's his first time on a street circuit as well, the 40-year-old who is looking to improve as the season goes on, and we'll keep an eye on his progress, certainly throughout this Po weekend and the season to come. It's a busy month of May here in the Euroformula Open. We had Estoril last week Of course, we're here at Pau, and then in a fortnight, we stay in France as we go to Paul Ricard. The month of May and the month of September, very busy. In September, we go to the Red Bull Ring, Imola, and Monza. It's a sensational calendar that we have here in Euroformula Open, and arguably the crown jewel of that season and that calendar is this wonderful Pau street circuit and the Pau Grand Prix that will take place tomorrow. Good battle going on here between Mansell and Lomco. Lomco getting a little bit loose there. Got to be careful not to hook a wheel on the curbs coming out of turns, because that can really spit you into the Armco on short notice, if you get any notice at all, that is. And certainly Ogard is being given notice, because Fred Lubin is looming large in the mirrors. Freddie Lubin will be looking to find any way past Ogard that he can in the next couple of laps here. Of course, this race doesn't determine the grid for tomorrow. We do have a separate qualifying session bright and early tomorrow morning, so position not critical for tomorrow's race, but of course, it's all part of the Euroformula Open Championship. And Lubin will be looking to salvage as many points as possible from this race. And we know that he likes a move at turn 2. He's in the slipstream as they run down the main straight towards the first corner. Let's see if Lubin can have a look to the inside. I don't think he was going to be close enough nonetheless. Even with the slipstream, I don't think that one was on. Mansell and Lomco continuing to follow each other through the Beaumont Park on lap 13 of 26. We're at half distance in this one. And thus far, Mansell has held on to second place very well indeed. He's now about matching the pace of Ollie Gerta in the lead, but Gerta is some 5.8 seconds clear of this second place fight that we follow on screen. Mansell has said many a glowing thing about this circuit since he's arrived, in spite of the dramas he experienced in free practice. You see there the Michelin rubber stationed, should anyone need it, in the pit lane. Plenty of good things said about those Michelin tyres as well by the drivers of the Euroformula Open Series. Here is Ollie Gerta. He will be delighted that he got a good start here. Himself and his team and Stuart Hall, his driver coach, have all been working extremely hard to make sure that he didn't suffer a repeat of his dramas at Estoril, where 2 out of 3 starts almost didn't happen at all. The third race, he didn't get the best of starts, but he at least got the car underway. But here at Pau, Gerta has really excelled himself off the line and has continued to do so ever since. The gap's still going out by a couple of tenths a lap over Mansell. Gerta, of course, wearing those Gulf colours that we saw on his car by dint of his family's long-standing relationship with them, the Rothko collection owned by his father, Ollie Gerta. Some fabulous cars included in that particular collection. And oh, Marinangeli! Marinangeli's had a moment there at turn 8. So that's just after the Foch chicane. And Marinangeli has unfortunately beached himself there on the curb. You see the left side wheels are off the ground. So with all the will in the world, I don't think there's much he could do to move the car, and I suspect that the right front tyre will be bent out of sorts as well. There's surely some suspension damage to that car, and yes, now you can see it live and in living colour. That car will be driving no further in this one. What a shame for Marinangeli. And safety car has been declared, so we're under safety car conditions with 11 laps, effectively 10 laps of the race to go. Now, the marshals here at Pau are incredibly efficient. This won't be a long safety car period, but this puts everything back on the table. Oliver Gerta, who has spent the entire race building a particularly luxurious pillow between himself and Christian Mansell, is suddenly going to see that thrown away as the safety car comes out. Well, 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 you never know quite when the next drama will be in a street race. And unfortunately for Nicola Marinangeli, he's found that out firsthand, and it has a knock-on effect on everyone else. Gerta will now be looking in the mirrors as the field continues to bunch up behind him. And here we see a replay. Oh, Marinangeli there just hesitated coming into turn 8. You could see him take a couple of bites at the wheel. And next thing he knew, he was headlong into the wall. Marinangeli, I'm sure they'll get that car repaired for tomorrow, but he'll be disappointed not to get points on the board in this one. He's already had a fairly difficult season, coming together with Philip Ugran, his Van Amersfoort teammate in the first race at Estoril last weekend. Albeit Ugran got the worst of it and ended up retiring from the race, but it's been a mixed season thus far for Marinangeli. He'll be looking for better fortunes in race 2. Good to see that he's out of the car. Looks like we're going to have at least one more lap under safety car. They, of course, principally have to make sure that the grid has closed up before they really start working with marshals on the circuit. Isolate the field in one bunch. It's very important to do. I think at the moment we're still awaiting a few cars. Rest of the pack still MIA from the main safety car queue. This may well end up looking like a dash of maybe a half dozen laps, maybe 8 laps. It's going to be a short, sharp sprint to the finish here on the streets of Po. And Ollie Gerta is going to have to keep his eyes on Christian Mansell. He's going to need a good restart. If Mansell sees half an opportunity, I have no doubt that the young Australian will take it. And here's the recovery vehicle on site. So, again, I wouldn't expect the safety car to be vacant from circuits this time by. But maybe just one more lap. We'll have to wait and see. Here's the rest of the field then closing in. Nettershiel there moves up to 11th place, courtesy at this moment for Marinangeli, of course. There is the stricken Dallara of Nicola Marinangeli being collected up as the safety car queue makes its way around the Beaumont Parc Beaumont. It's such a fabulous little city, Po. And there's this huge buzz in the local area. The Grand Prix back for the first time in 3 years, of course. The global situations in the last couple of years affecting proceedings, affecting the Po Grand Prix as it has so many other events. And what a delight it is to see racing back on these streets. You walk through the shops here in the city, you see the checkered flags in the windows, ardent supporters of the Grand Prix strewn throughout the city. And it really is a festival atmosphere here in the paddock. They've got a roving band, they've got plenty of facilities and opportunities for the fans here. So got a nice little Grand Prix village up in the town where the party, the fiesta, takes place of an evening. Laps are added to this race as the safety car continues. You'll note it's already gone up from 26 to 27 laps. Still awaiting any confirmation as to when this race will get back underway. Of course, the operation's still very much live at the moment. As soon as they know, just as I was about to say, as soon as they know, we'll find out. We've been informed that the safety car is in this lap. So the recovery process has been short and sharp, as it so often is here at Po, and we will be back to racing in just a few moments' time. Ollie Gerta is going to have to put a shift in from here to re-establish that gap over Christian Mansell and over Vladislav Lomko too. Josh Mason and Philipp Ogard in 4th and 5th position. It's another opportunity as well for Mason to maybe try and get a podium out of this one, the young British driver. Yeah, cover star of the local paper, I believe La République, for this weekend. And he'll be looking to get himself on Monday's paper as well, with some good results here at the Grand Prix de Pau. The main Grand Prix is tomorrow, but the Euroformula race happening today as well. And Gerta launches, and we are back underway. Mansell wasn't caught napping particularly, but he's not close enough for a move on Gerta, at least in the first couple of corners. However, Mansell will be re-motivated. He'll have kept those tyres warm, and he's going to be pressing on as Ollie Gerta leads them. Mansell will want to try and take that lead. Look at how close Mason is, and Lubin making up positions. He caught Sebastian Ogard there at turn 2. The favoured overtaking opportunity of Fred Lubin once again being utilised. A good move to move himself up into 8th place there. Lubin on the recovery drive, of course. After that poor start, his next target is Nicolas Pino. Nicolas Pino, the Chilean driver, the sole entry for DriveX this weekend. Splitting his racing between LMP cars and single-seaters these days. And he'll be looking to try and etch his name into the history books during our race tomorrow, which will officially be labelled as the 79th edition of the Po Grand Prix. But full points scored here today in race 1. Still just as important as any other Euroformula race, albeit that much more challenging because we are on the streets of Po. Mason still close behind Lomko as they head through the flat-out kink of turn 1. And then on to turn 2. The Gare corner, which sits just alongside the Po railway station. And up the hill along the Avenue Napoleon Bonaparte. Snaking and scything through turns 3 and 4. The famous and famously tight Lycée hairpin. The Parc Beaumont, which, as I said a little earlier on, it tightens, then it straightens out a little bit again. You're working at the wheel all the time through that section of the circuit, downhill and over the curbs. With 8 minutes and a half left on the clock, you see there on your screen that the lap counter has gone, so we are running to a 35-minute duration here rather than 26 or indeed 28 laps of racing. So the maximum time is 35 minutes. So if we do calculate that we're not going to get the full lap count in, we do go to the timer, and that's exactly what's happened here. And look at Lubin. He's once again looming large, this time in the mirrors of Nicolas Pino. And there's some Van Amersfoort versus Motor Park stuff going on there as well. The 24 car of Alex Garcia. And the 14 has Philipp Ogard just trying to hold him off. Ogard, the Romanian who was so confident coming into this weekend. He likes a street circuit, he says. Not that he's ever raced one before, but he felt like the concept of a street circuit would suit him nicely. And a top 5 finish in the first race, I reckon, would validate that. And of course, we have qualifying again in the morning tomorrow. So these drivers will still be learning, gathering their own data ahead of race 2 tomorrow, and of course qualifying. The order for the starting grid tomorrow could be completely different from what we see at the moment. The order in this battle for 7th place could be different in just a few moments, because here comes Freddie Lubin. Turn 1, side by side. That would be unconventional. Lubin all over the back of Pinot. Goodness me, I thought Lubin was going for it at turn 1. I think he thought he was going for it at turn 1 too. That fast sweeper alongside the pit lane, you don't see side by side there practically ever. But for a moment there, I thought we were about to move into new territory at the Pau Grand Prix. Sensational stuff from Lubin as he continues to press on, continues to try and get around Pinot. What racing this has been so far. Pinot a little less aggressive on the curbs than Lubin. Lubin is all over the back of the DriveX car. Oh, a bit of a lock-up there from Nicolas as well as they go through Buisson. Now downhill, the very tricky chicane de Croisement. And then it's all flat out from here until turn 2. Last time by, we saw Lubin try the practically impossible at turn 1. I don't think he's close enough on this occasion, though. There's Mansell and Lomco, they're still in the same order. And look at Gerta. Oh, there's a moment between Pinot and Lubin. Oh, I didn't think Lubin was close enough. He had other ideas, though. And unfortunately, it's ended in a collision at turn 2. So an attempted overtake there. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that one. But those two cars won't be going any further in this race. That much is for certain. Oh, goodness me. Just 5 minutes left on the clock as well. You see that they've got a crane in position down at turn 2 because, let's face it, that's a fairly common incident black spot here at Pau. So we'll see how this one is handled. Double yellow flags at turn 2 at the moment for the rescue. Here's a replay at the moment, and oh, Pinot came across Lubin there. Lubin was certainly not all the way alongside the Chilean driver. All we can say for sure is that neither man will be finishing this first race at the Pau Grand Prix. We've seen Lubin make a few overtakes there. He successfully made 2 overtakes at turn 2 so far in the race. Unfortunately, it was third time unlucky for Freddie. Still just under yellow flags, and we've gone past the pit lane once, so it looks like they are going to try and cover that one just under yellows. So the race will press on. You'll be unsurprised to hear that the incident involving those two drivers is already under investigation from the race director. One car already retrieved by the ever-efficient Pau marshals. Yes, they've had 3 years off, but they know how to crane a car. They've had to do it a few dozen times over the years. Less than 4 minutes of racing to go. And Gerta has already extended his lead to over 4 seconds. Remarkable display from Ollie Gerta. He seems to have really found his footing with this Dallara 320. You see there the yellow flags waving. Drivers have to come through here in orderly fashion. There's Nicolas Pinot's car just being lifted over the fence now. And so we should soon see the yellow flags withdrawn. And at that point, we will see the track listed as clear, and that has now happened. As you can see on your screen, there's no longer an indication of a yellow flag. Track is clear, says the race director. So for the final 2 3/4 minutes of this race, that opportunity for overtaking is there for the taking for anyone who wishes to make a move. Mansell there didn't get the optimal line through the Foch chicane, carried a bit too much speed out of Beaumont Park and had to kind of take a slow line through Foch. Lomco will be watching all of this and hoping he can get close enough to the back of Mansell. Lomco would very much like to at least finish the race in the position he started on the grid, 2nd place. Mason's there, still very much in the hunt in 4th as well. Latest bulletin from the race director states that this incident that we saw a couple of laps ago will be investigated after the race, so we won't know anything definitive until after the race, but keep an eye on the Euroformula Open social media channels and websites if there are any amendments or any decisions made retroactively after the race. We will keep you abreast of that later on ahead of Sunday's proceedings. Just over 90 seconds to go. I think this might well be the penultimate lap of the race. So we're running out of time for any of these drivers in the battle for second to make a move. Mason has once again managed to drop Philipp Ogard in 5th position, so he can focus solely on what's going on ahead of him, Christian Mansell and Vladislav Lomko. Mansell's still there in 2nd place. Gerta is 1 lap away from taking his 2nd win of the Euroformula Open season 2022 and extending his advantage ahead of the points. He's still pushing, as you can clearly see. And Gerta, who's been on impervious form so far at Po, he took a clean sweep of both free practices and qualifying on Friday. And we could be about to see the same thing again. Gerta on the top step, although if he clips those curves, that could be a problem. The curves can be unforgiving here, especially in these little single-seaters. Gerta still, as I said, pushing, pressing hard. Through the Foss chicane for the final time. A little bit of lap traffic to contend with as well, by the looks of it. Nettershiel will be aware of what's going on behind him. Gerta will be aware that the checkered flag awaits. Ollie Gerta in the Moto Park de Lara crosses the line to take the first Euroformula Open win of the weekend here at Po. 2nd place goes to Christian Mansell and Vladislav Lomko rounding out the podium. Josh Mason holding on to 4th place there. A fair distance clear of Philipp Ogard in 5th. Alex Garcia taking 6th place, Sebastian Ogard taking 7th, and Francesco Simonazzi rounding out the top 8. Of course, both of those drivers inheriting positions courtesy of that incident between the 67 and the 78, Nicolas Pino and Freddie Lubin. Vladimir Nettershiel will cross the line in 9th place. You saw he just about avoided getting lapped by Ollie Gerta on the run to the checkered flag. Clearly he wanted one more lap of Po, and who could blame him? Ollie Gerta, though, with a commanding victory. A speed bump in the middle in the form of that safety car. Plaudits from Christian Mansell. A good, healthy respect between everyone in the Euroformula Open paddock, and Mansell giving the big thumbs up to Ollie Gerta. No doubt the Motor Park team will be celebrating that one long into the night. And here at Po, with the festival atmosphere, there's plenty of facilities for them to celebrate. And Josh Mason pulling up alongside Ollie as well to offer his congratulations to the young Danish driver, born in the UK, holds dual citizenship, German and Danish. Such a bright young driver as well. Seems really excited by his prospects in this Euroformula Open season. And if performances like this continue to roll in, he is going to be very difficult to beat in this season. Of course, he does have street circuit experience, but he's never been here to Po before yesterday. He will be delighted with this result. We will, of course, hear from him as well. I'm sure he's going to have that trademark smile on his face. Stuart Hall and the team down at Motor Park will be waiting for him. And there is Nicola Marinangeli. Of course, he's on the sidelines. He was the car that got into the barriers at turn 8 and caused that pause in proceedings under the safety car. Here are the results then from that first race. Gerta by 3.9 seconds taking the win over Christian Mansell. Vlad Lomko in 3rd place. Mason in 4th. Ogard and Garcia rounding out the top 6. 6 nationalities in the top 6. Ogard, Simonazzi and Nettershiel rounding out our finishing drivers. Pino, Lubin and Marinangeli all failing to see the finish. A look back at Gerta through the Lycée hairpin, a corner he liked to attack. And that last time, he got a little clip of the curb as well. I think that was the very final lap. Punching the air with delight as he runs through the Foch chicane on his in-lap. And the celebrations will be ongoing here at Po for the Motorpark team and for the Rofco team that supports Ollie Gerta. Both Ollie and Benji have benefited from tuition from the likes of Stuart Hall, Jamie Campbell-Walter, world champions in their arsenal, helping them advance up the ladder in single-seaters and GT racing respectively. And Ollie will surely feel that he is the favourite coming into tomorrow's qualifying and then at the 79th edition of the Po Grand Prix. And who could argue with that assumption after that performance in the race? The drivers making their way towards the podium. The celebrations will be incoming. You see there, they're getting a bit of a shuttle, I think, to the podium. Looked like they were going to take in the luxuries of a nice Audi saloon on their run down towards the podium. And they will pop the champagne and celebrate in style in a few moments when they do go towards the podium. Interested spectators on grandstands and balconies alike here at Po. Quite a few organic grandstands, as it were, be it on the hillsides or on some of the roads that overlook the hilly terrain of Po. And having wandered around yesterday and taken a look at some of the areas where you can find a vantage point around this circuit, I sorely recommend a visit to Po. It really is a wonderful facility, such a historic venue. The first instance of motor racing in Po dates back all the way, I believe, to 1901. The first proper Po Grand Prix was held in 1933. Of course, various world events have interrupted the consistent run of the Grand Prix over the years. We haven't been here in 2 full years. And so there is Stuart Hall with Ollie Gerta. The embrace and the delight from everyone supporting Ollie. Down there near the podium, you see Vladislav Lonko in the background as well. And here are some highlights from the race just gone. A good start for Gerta, a poor start from Freddie Lubin. As the race got underway here at Po, Gerta would see that it was Christian Mansell in his mirrors. Mansell with a great start, moving up to 2nd position. Freddie Lubin would continue to try and make his way through the order as Christian Mansell would try and chase Gerta, but ultimately Gerta would drive off into the distance. And he'd have to worry more about the cars behind him. Those being Vladislav Lonko and Josh Mason. So Mansell would continue to defend and continue to press on as the race wore on. And then we'd start to see Freddie Lubin making his way through the order. Simonazzi fell to a nice dive into turn 2. Mansell would continue to hold off Vladislav Lonko, but then a twist in the race in the form of a safety car triggered by Nicola Marinangeli. He got back to green flag conditions, and Lubin was on the attack again as he got past Sebastian Ogard. But then Lubin would face Nicola Pino, and that move did not go as well at all. No safety car for this second crash of the race. It was recovered under local double wave yellows, much to the joy, I'm sure, of this man, Ollie Gerta, who once again built a cushion over the chasing pack, once again pressed hard on his way to glory at Pau in the first of 2 races here this weekend. Tomorrow is the 79th Pau Grand Prix, but today, a winner at Pau is Ollie Gerta. Mansell and Lonco rounding out the podium. Speaking of the podium, that will be incoming in just a few moments' time. There's young Ollie Gerta. I had Timo from Motopark come up to me a few moments ago, and I think he was looking for the podium. I hope he's now found it to celebrate along with his team. And they have plenty to celebrate coming out of that race. Gerta with 2 wins on the board in this season will further extend his points advantage. You see there the crew's already preparing for the next session here at Pau. It's a fast, frenetic schedule here on the streets of Pau. Lots of different categories taking to the circuits here. As well as Euroformula, you've got touring car racing, both petrol and electric, and some Renault Twingos as well. But here's Vladislav Lonco, 3rd place on the podium. There's Christian Mansell taking 2nd. And our winner, punching the air, is Ollie Gerta. Delight for Gerta, as we will now take in the national anthem of Denmark. A representative from Motopark there with them as well. Gerta looks elated with this. And let's see just how bold they are with the bubbly stuff in just a moment.
Merci à vous. Applaudissements, s'il vous plaît, pour
There you go. So then, next up on the list, the itinerary for the podium will be the trophies.
Total Énergie, pardon, de bien vouloir s'emparer du trophée du troisième. On rappelle qu'il s'agit de Vladislav Lonco.
A great first race here at Pau in Euroformula Open. Lonco receiving the 3rd place trophy. Crypto Towers, Christian Mansell accepting 2nd. He'll be pretty chuffed with that one, I'm sure. He looks like he is. He did not get to go home between events. He actually went straight back to the Motopark base outside Oschersleben circuit to get some time in on the sim rig. And there is Ollie Gerta, who holds his trophy up high. A first win of the weekend here at Pau. And he will already be looking ahead to race 2, the 79th Pau Grand Prix. As the representative from Motopark receiving the spoils as well. And as the weekend progresses, we'll see you next time from Pau.